Ooh, okay, new setup, new me. Wow. Hello, I hope this is good audio. I am so thirsty, oh my god. That sounded disgusting. I don't even think I have to put my drinking sound bite there. Okay. Hi, Mal Pals and New Pals. Thank you for joining me today. What was that? That is, I have been talking and filming for like 4 hours. Welcome to my new corner. We're setting her up. This is my new studio. She is almost finished and she is looking beautiful. I wanted to talk to you today about 5 common mistakes that I make pretty much every time I apply makeup. There's things that I just kind of don't think about. They become very just second nature to me that I don't think about sharing until one of you recently asked me about my eyebrow tutorial and if I had one, how I do my eyebrows. And then it got me thinking, because I do have very thin eyebrows and my eyebrows are a process. I know that doesn't look like much goes into these, but a lot does. And so it got me thinking about all the things that I do to correct my top 5 mistakes. And then a few of you have asked me over a short amount of time recently, how I correct when my skin is a little too dry or products are picking up on my dry skin. And I have a total hack for that. Because I do have very dry, cracky skin, there's plenty of tips and tricks. So these are the top 5 makeup mistakes that I make in my daily makeup routine, and this is how I correct them. So let's go ahead and get into this. The very first one is brows. So I have been using the same eyebrow pencil for probably 6 years now, I think. Hourglass Arch Brow and Platinum Blonde, and for some reason I always lose this tip, the cap. I love using this eyebrow pencil. It is very user-friendly and I feel like it is the perfect shade for my natural brow hairs. I have very thin blonde brows, so I have to be really careful when I go to fill them in. I start getting a little like intense and I'm like, oh, maybe they need to be fuller here, maybe they need to be fuller there, and then I make them too full. Now this is how I correct that, especially through here, because back in the early 2000s, it was cool to have like really thin brows, and mine ended up like looking like sperm brows, and it was just a whole wow. Mine won't grow back. I don't know, people my age are like, I'm just growing out my eyebrows, and then they just grow, and I'm like, what? How did you go from, and I don't know. They won't grow back, so I always end up filling in this area a little too much. Now here's the hot tip, and I used to do this. I used to take a flat brush and correct the eyebrow shape with concealer. And I learned quickly I could see a thin, like whitish line. Just start using your freaking foundation. This brush specifically is what saves my life. This is a MAC 212. I've had this literally since 2011, and I remember that because I bought it right after my dad died. So the MAC 212 is like literally the thinnest flat liner brush I have ever purchased or have ever found. They always are like too thick at the end, and you just can't correct, and then you just like, the bristles move around too much. So this brush in particular, and I will have everything that I talk about in the info below, as well as any other tips I forget in the blog portion, and anything I'm wearing is also down there. I take just what is on the very tip of whatever foundation I'm using that day, because I want it to look like the same shade as my skin. And so that's where the not using concealer thing comes in. So I will take the very most minimal product that I can to correct that brow shape, and it works so well. And then I will just kind of tap it in to the skin, and I don't need to powder it down for it to stay or anything like that. So whatever foundation I am using and I need to correct my brows, I will take my MAC 212 and I will just go along and fix it right up. And it doesn't create like a gray cast or anything like that. It really does correct the shape, because you can get so much precision. Next is a mistake that I make literally every time. I can never get my eye shapes when I apply eyeshadow to be perfect. And it's always like this eye, it seems. I love taking my eyeshadows and extending them. I'm wearing the Natasha Denona Camel palette today. I love extending them to the tail of my brow, okay? But for some reason, this eye especially, and I can do it to this eye too, but this eye especially, because this eye's smaller than this one, and like, anyway, so I will accidentally take the eyeshadow too low right through here and end up looking like I have like a black eye or like a dark circle or some sort of bruise. My biggest tip, and I learned this kind of by accident and in desperation. I literally remember the day that the first time I did this and I was like, oh my God, this works. I'm an avid baker underneath my eyes. And one day I did that and I applied too much eyeshadow right through here and it made my eye look turned down. And the whole point of extending my eyeshadow out is to lengthen and widen my eyes because I do have hooded lids and smaller eyes. So I just took the remainder of my baking powder that was on my sponge, my beauty sponge, and I just shaped out my eyeshadow. So that's what I do. I take my beauty blender, I dip it into some powder, and then I will pinch it. So it looks, you know, flattened like this. And then I will go along and I will correct the shape to where I want it to be. Don't let that powder sit. Oh my God. Don't let the powder sit there and bake. Immediately dust it off and you will see that that powder picks up that eyeshadow pigment quickly and you can just dust it off with the powder. It works every time with so many different eyeshadows. I've never had this trick not work for me no matter what eyeshadow palette or single eyeshadow I'm using. So that is a big one. If you are like me and you like to extend your eyeshadow, or maybe you just kind of get it down too low or too high, you can shape out the mistake with a loose setting powder, loose translucent. I love using the Laura Mercier loose translucent powder because it is my favorite. I bake with it, I set my face with it. It's a mini trick pony. The next mistake that I always make, because my eyes are hooded, so I have more flesh, okay, on my upper lid, I always get mascara on my upper lid. And I've been doing this for years. And it's just, I've mentioned this a few times in videos over the years. But what I will do when that happens and I get mascara on my lids, and I'm talking like a lot, okay? I have hooded lids. This is a very common thing. It doesn't matter how big the brush is, how small the brush is. I always do this, or I put myself in the eye, whatever. I wait like 5 to 10 minutes. I will apply my lipstick. I will apply whatever other products. I will get other things done while the mascara dries. Do not touch it when it's wet. All you'll do is smear it and then you'll have a whole other mess you have to deal with. Let it dry down. Take a Q-tip, okay? A Q-tip, and take your fingers and really kind of tighten that cotton around that Q-tip. Hold it into place, dust away the mascara. Now, like today, I had to press a little harder and I accidentally wiped some pigment away. No big deal. Normally that doesn't happen. Of course, today when I demonstrate this trick, it happened. So all you have to do is take your blending brush that you used that day with your eyeshadow that you used that day, whatever you applied your lids on, blend out with the pigmentation that's already existing on the brush. Okay, so you're not applying more pigment and you have to correct something else. Quickly blend it out. And girl, look, you can't even tell we've made a mistake. It works every single time. I have dry skin, especially between my eyebrows. That is where dryness will start kind of showing up underneath foundations and powders and things like that. So what I love doing, this is newer to me, okay? Normally I would just use a setting spray, a dewy setting spray, and spray it on the back of my hand, but this is the new trick. I take my Jones Road Miracle Balm in Au Naturel, take it on my finger, warm it up, put it on the back of my hand. I will take what is on the back of my hand with my beauty blender that's still a little damp, you know, from makeup application, press whatever is on the back of my hand into the beauty blender, and then lightly push it into my skin. Don't, you know, swirl it or whatever, just literally press it into the skin, let it sit a second. This Miracle Balm is wonderful over foundation, powder, and things like that. So I knew that I could trust this when I had to rely on this to kind of correct any extra dryness. So this can be applied under foundation, over foundation, and it works beautifully. Then I will go ahead and follow up with a setting spray so it just kind of melts everything together. I personally love the Patrick Tashi's Thirsty setting spray. It is my favorite of all time. It is my favorite setting spray. And I will spray just one little spritz on the back of my hand, take that same beauty blender, press the spray that I sprayed on the back of my hand into the beauty blender and do the same thing, and then press it into the skin. And then it's literally like you never over powdered, you didn't have an issue of dryness. And you can honestly, if you want to skip the setting powder, just do the Miracle Balm, because you can throw this in your bag. If you notice over the length of the day that your skin is starting to look dry or whatever, you can pull this out of your bag and quickly touch up even with your finger. Just be careful, don't like smear it on, just literally press like you would a beauty blender into it. So those are my top 5 mistakes that I make, really actually pretty much every time when I apply makeup. And yeah, I just kind of was like, oh yeah, I should share this because I've had so many questions about these topics. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. Let us know in the comments below what makeup mistakes you make and how you correct them. I love getting the conversation started. Everything else will be in the info box below. I hope you guys are having a wonderful holiday season. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.
All right.